Okay, so I am way behind on this, but that's because I didn't want to get the small set. I wanted to wait until the 72 set came out, and it is finally here. I am so excited about these pencils. I have not even swatched these pencils yet. I am just going to jump right in and do a project with them. And here's what they look like. And the best part is they are all Lightfast, so I don't have to weed any of them out. Hi, Shanna Rowe Jackson here from Caution Artist at Play, and today I am finally doing a drawing with my Derwent Lightfast. So I want to say that this video is not sponsored in any way. I bought these pencils myself. I actually ordered them from cultpens.com because at the time, none of the sites that I normally shop through were selling them in the US. They were selling the smaller sets, but they weren't selling the 72 set, so I ended up going through cultpens.com. I will leave a link for that in the description below. But as of right now, as I'm doing the voiceover, I believe that Blick has started to sell the 72 set. I'm not sure about Jerry's yet. I haven't really looked into it because I don't need to buy any because I have them. So that being said, I was super excited to get this set. I've been wanting these pencils for a very long time, but I knew that I wanted to wait until the 72 set came out because I knew I was not going to want to just have the 36 and then have to buy later. I was kind of stubborn on that. So I ended up getting the 72 set, but there's also a 100 set, which now I want to buy the remaining pencils for. Once they are more readily available open stock in the US, I will probably buy the open stock pencils and make up for the fact that I didn't have the 100 set. So about these pencils, they are an oil-based pencil and they are 100% Lightfast. So all the pencils in this range are between a 1 and 2 on the Lightfast scale, and I believe that they are using the ASTM scale for this. So these are high quality pencils, and they're awesome. So I didn't end up swatching them out because I'm not really a swatch person, and I knew that I was just going to want to jump right into a project. The drawing that I'm working on is of some succulents. I actually took the photo for this drawing months and months and months ago when I got a new succulent plant. I picked the most colorful plant that I could find, and I knew I was going to want to draw it. I just didn't know when. And as soon as I got these pencils and looked at the range of colors, I knew that this would be the perfect drawing for it. So a little bit about how these pencils work. They are an oil-based pencil, as I said before, but they have a bit of a thicker core as most of Derwent's pencils do, so it is a little bit more difficult to get fine detail. I liken the laydown for these to be a little bit between the Faber-Castell Polychromos and the Prismacolor Premier pencils, because they do have the thicker lead, but they're definitely also softer than the Faber-Castell Polychromos are. So it's the laydown. I found it to be quite easy to get vibrant colors very quickly, which is why I liken them to Prismacolors, but I did not have any breaking of the leads, so that was fantastic because I started with Prismacolor, so I am used to having very vibrant colors very quickly and not have to use as much layering. Of course, over the years, I've been using the Polychromos more and more because of their reliability, so I was ecstatic when I started working with these, and I discovered that I could get vibrant colors very easily without leads breaking and without having to resharpen 1,000 times and just having all kinds of issues. So obviously a major selling point for these is the fact that they are Lightfast. However, something that's also really cool about these is the color range. They definitely have colors in this range that I haven't really seen in other ranges before, and a couple of them are, I don't know how to explain it. They ended up being, like I said, perfect for this drawing, but I can see that it would be easy to do some portraiture, it would be easy to do landscapes. They actually really thought very deeply about the color selection as far as having a variety, but also making sure that there are some cool colors that you can't really get other places. Like there's a very, very dark blue purple color called Nightshade, and it's so vivid and beautiful, and I actually used a lot of that in my shadows. I don't think I actually even ended up using the black pencil. So when you look in all the darkest of shadows, usually I use a combination of the Nightshade color, and I think they're ocean blue, and there's a few other dark colors in here. Forest, which is a really dark green. I liken the forest color to be a little bit closer to dark green in Prismacolor, which is a color that I use quite often in Prismacolor. So I was very excited to see that. One thing I will say, they definitely have a lot of greens. So I like that because I'm somebody who does a lot of natural art, but other people may not be as excited about it. Some of the greens are a little bit close in color, but I do think it's a pretty good range. They also have a pretty good range of grays, not as many as Prismacolor, but I think it's pretty well in line as far as the amount of grays, considering it's only a 72 set as opposed to 120 or 150 like the Polychromos and the Prismacolor. I don't think that's a bad range. As I mentioned before, they do have a few colors that you can use for portraiture, which is very, very exciting because a lot of the beige and pinky type of colors for portraiture are not Lightfast in a lot of the other lines. Generally speaking, it's very difficult to find Lightfast purples, pinks, reds, things like that in other lines, at least that I've noticed when I've had to weed out non-Lightfast colors in my other colored pencil lines. So I was very excited to see that they had blush pink, salmon, dusky pink, which are great for Caucasian skin tones, and I think will be great for portraiture. And they also have a cool range of purples. They have purple, Mars Violet, Heather, you know, a few things that are harder to get in the other ranges. So they definitely thought about that when they were creating this line. And I'm very excited about that because that was what I was worried about when they first came out. I was like, how are they going to find these colors? Now, granted, some of these colors are more in the range of at the 2 level of light fastness, but still, it's very exciting because it's going to be good to supplement when you can't find those colors in other lines as easily. Then also along the skin tones line, they do have a good range of browns as well. So that is good for darker skin tones. They have some on the warmer side, some on the cooler side. So I thought that was very exciting as well. So I think that for the most part, there's a lot that you can do with this set, even though it's only 72 colors. And you got to think 72 fully Lightfast colors is great when you think about how many colors you have to weed out of the larger sets. You don't usually end up with a heck of a lot more than that when you're weeding them out of other sets anyways. Maybe with the Polychromos you still get quite a bit. I know that there is a lot of colors that need to be weeded out of Prismacolor, but I mean, less than people like to say. There actually are a lot of Lightfast Prismacolor colors. People don't realize that, but some of them are Lightfast, some of them aren't, just like in any other line. Anyway, sorry, that was a tangent. But, so I think that the best thing about this is like the color palette. I'm just very excited about it. And one thing that I do want to mention, I have tried a lot of colored pencils. And generally, when I try new colored pencils, I always try to see if I can do a whole drawing with just those colored pencils. Generally speaking, I use multiple different brands in most of my drawings. I use what I need to. If I have a color that I like best in Prismacolor and it's Lightfast, I will use that with my Polychromos. I do whatever I need to do to make my drawing look the way it needs to look, as long as it's archival, of course. So that being said, when I try a new colored pencil line, one of the first things I want to check is if this can be a standalone line. So a lot of times I'm not able to do a full piece in just one line of colored pencils. I'm just not. Either the white isn't vibrant enough, so I have to pull in the Derwent Drawing Chinese White, or the black isn't dark enough, which, of course, when I use black, I usually layer it with other colors anyways. But that being said, I want it to be a dark black. I want to have a good black when I do need it. And sometimes certain colored pencils don't have the colors I'm looking for. With this piece, I did not use any other colored pencils. I only use the Derwent Lightfast pencils. I've never had that happen with a new pencil, other than when I started with Prismacolor. But that's because Prismacolor was the only pencils I had, so I got used to just working with Prismacolor. But generally speaking, whenever I've worked in other colored pencils, I have had to pull my Prismacolors in, or I've had to pull my Polychromos in, or I've had to pull in my Derwent Drawing Chinese White. With this piece, I didn't have to do that. Now, of course, it could possibly be the color scheme. The color scheme ended up working out perfect for these pencils, but I have never ever had that happen before. I remember I tried the Blick line, and almost immediately when I did a piece that had a lot of leaves in it, and there was a lot of, it was like layered, and it was on the ground, and there was rocks, there was a lot of different textures, there was a lot of shadows, and almost immediately when I tested the Blick pencils to do that piece, I ended up having to pull in the Derwent Drawing Chinese White and their black. So I didn't have to do that here, and I was very excited about that. And I know it sounds like I'm just gushing over these pencils, but I swear this is not a sponsored video. Nobody's paying me to say these things. I bought these on my own. So I'm just very excited about them, and I think they're worth a try. The one thing, like I mentioned earlier, that was a bit of a downfall was the fact that I couldn't really get the finest details that I wanted. So in the future, if I have something that needs really small details, I may have to pull in my Polychromos with it. Also, I wanted to mention that when I first got this set, I ended up with 2 white pencils. And when I went through, I realized that whenever they had put this set together, they accidentally switched out the Arctic pencil with a white pencil. That's not a big deal. I mean, I could see how that would happen because the Arctic is pretty much a white pencil. But I did contact Derwent and let them know, and they are sending me the Arctic pencil. So, and it's really not that much of an issue. I just wanted to let them know so that in case it's happening in other sets, I just wanted them to be aware. And really, white is a pencil that I go through a lot of anyway, so I'm not upset by having more than 1 white pencil, but I did want them to be aware that that was happening. And in true Derwent style, they were awesome about it, and they said that they would send the pencil out to me. So I'm very excited about that. I haven't gotten it yet, but it should be here anytime. I believe it's probably coming from the UK, and I am in the US, so that's probably why it's taken a little bit of time. So a little bit more about this, and I'm sorry because I actually had filmed this a while ago. If you have me on Instagram, you've probably already seen this finished piece. I have been very busy lately, and this video took a lot of editing because this picture took a lot of hours. So this is a little bit delayed. I do want to apologize if there are times when the video kind of lapses or there are places where it looks like something magically happened. I tried to condense it as much as possible. Otherwise, this would have been a 45-minute video, and none of us really have time for that. So the pencils were great as far as creating textures. Even though I couldn't get a whole lot of fine detail, I was able to create a lot of cool textures on the petals of the succulent, leaves. I'm not exactly sure what they're called. And that was great. The blending was awesome. I tried multiple ways of blending, as you can probably see. I used burnishing with the pencils themselves. I used layering to get blending. And I also used odorless mineral spirits in a water brush. And at one point, I did pull in a burnishing pencil just to see how that did. I think that one is a Prismacolor one. I don't have a Derwent burnishing pencil. Otherwise, I would have used a Derwent one. And I used blending stumps, as you could see as well. Once I had enough layers down, I was able to blend them with blending stumps. So even though these are oil-based pencils, they are quite waxy. But with as many layers and burnishing as I had, I actually didn't have any trouble with wax bloom with these. So I don't think that that is an issue with these pencils, even though you can blend them so easily and they do have a waxy kind of feel to them. So, I mean, with colored pencils, they're all wax and oil. They all have a little bit of both. Some are a little bit more on the oil side and some are a little bit more on the wax side. So the ones that are a little bit more on the oil side will be called oil-based. The ones that are a little bit more wax will be called wax-based. So it always is going to have that combination of some oil and some wax. So I'm not surprised that there was a little bit of that waxy feel, which I actually love because, as I said, I started with Prismacolor. Those of you who started with polychromos, it may take a little bit to get used to because they are a little bit more on the vibrant side and you don't need as many layers. I know there's a lot of artists who like to work in a lot of layers. It's just a matter of adjusting the way you're holding your pencil and maybe even doing a lighter touch than usual to get that layered look that you want. The paper that I am using is the Arches watercolor hot press paper. It's only, I think it's the 140 pound actually. I think it's 140 pound. And as I've mentioned in other videos, I wanted to try this paper for a lot of things. I obviously bought this paper for watercolor, then I've used it for markers. Every time I get a new paper, I want to use it with all the different mediums. And anytime I get a paper, I want to try it with colored pencil because colored pencil is one of my main mediums. And this paper held up really well to this medium. I had a lot of fun with it. And the smooth texture obviously helped, but this paper is just a workhorse of a paper, and it took a beating, and I love it. So I'll definitely be using the Arches a lot more for colored pencil as well, and you'll probably see me using these pencils a lot more often. I did end up using up one of my pencils. Well, I didn't use it up, but I do have one pencil. It is the Light Aqua, which is part of the 72 set. I don't think that it was offered in the 36 set. I'm going to have to buy that open stock when it's available here, open stock. I don't think it's available open stock yet. I haven't seen the ones that come in the second half of the 72 set available as open stock in the US yet. I think Cult Pens has it, but I'd have to spend a good amount of money to get the shipping because Cult Pens, I believe, is in the UK. So I'm not going to buy it yet, but I am definitely going to need to replace that pencil because it was my lightest color and I used it a lot for burnishing, and it's pretty much the predominant color in most of my light greenish aqua colored succulents. And you'll see me using that quite a bit. And that one did wear down quite a bit, but that being said, with the amount of surface space that I had to use, I don't even think it's down to halfway. I think that it's not down to the halfway point on the pencil yet. So I didn't use it up that much, but it looks shorter than the rest of the pencils, and that bugs me, so I want to get another one soon. But with the amount of, surface area that I had to cover with that pencil, it really wasn't that bad. And it wasn't due to breaking or anything like that. It was just due to actual use. And with each of these petals, I'm just going back and forth. One thing, that was the other thing. Gradients were a breeze with these colored pencils because they blend so well. So that was something else, another reason why I decided to use this piece as my testing point, because I wanted to see how well different colors blended with each other. And as you can see, they blended really well with each other. And I also wanted to try the waxiness. So things like flowers and leaves and anything that kind of has like a waxy texture, obviously certain fruits, are perfect for colored pencil. And especially when you're trying out, because you don't have to fight it so much to get the texture you're looking for. But then you can always use your other tools and bring in more texture later, like I used my craft knife like I usually do. There were some times when I imprinted with a stylus pen beforehand. And for a lot of this, I did kind of leave the whites of the paper so that I could have higher highlights. But the white pencil worked really well. I wouldn't say it's as opaque as Prismacolor. It might be close to being as opaque as Prismacolor, but it's definitely more opaque than polychromos. So it worked really well. But later on, if I need something for higher highlights, I might want to bring in the Derwent Drawing colored pencil, the Chinese white, because that is my all-time favorite white. But for the most part, the white pencil definitely got me through. So as I said, there were some times when I left the white of the paper, but there were times when I had to come over with the white and lighten it up a bit, and it did work pretty well. And I don't know how the black works because I just saw so many luscious, dark colors that I wanted to use those as black. One more thing that I would also like to mention about the pamphlet is the fact that it lists all the colors and the Lightfast rating. So even though they're all between 1 and 2, you'll at least get to have an idea of which ones are 1 and 2. The pamphlet also talks about different hints and tips on how to use them, such as layering, mixing, blending, pressure, all the things that we do as colored pencil artists. So I thought that that was really great as well. So in short, I love these pencils and I highly recommend them to any colored pencil enthusiast. I know I already have a lot of pencils, but these are a great addition to my collection. So here is the final piece. I hope you have enjoyed watching this come together. I would highly recommend these pencils, and I will see you next time. Thank you. Bye. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you like what you see, please hit subscribe. Also, if you're interested in seeing more of my artwork, I'm on social media, so check out the links in the description below.